Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're looking at a very interesting and sort of obscure type of a rifle. What you see in my hands here is a PTR 91, which is basically a clone correct HK91 or HKG3, one of the most popular rifles for use during the Cold War. One of the top battle rifles that were used within the NATO countries between this and the FNFAL. 7.62x51mm NATO, relatively heavy rifle. This is more of the HK91 type. You have the thicker handguards on here, which is a little bit better for protecting your hands from the heat when these things would get warm. The area around your chamber is actually covered up with these handguards. This rifle here has been shot quite a bit by me. I probably have got a couple thousand rounds through it. This is a very accurate, it's a very reliable rifle, quite a bit of recoil on it. The origins of this particular weapon system go back to the World War II with the Sturmgewehr. The next generation STG-45 used a roller-delayed low-back mechanism. After the war, those engineers went to work for SETME in Spain, which is where basically what you see here today was perfected with the SETME. And then basically how the story is going to go is during the Cold War, West Germany, they wanted to adopt the FAL rifle like most of the NATO countries. Well, Belgium was still really pissed off about being invaded by the Nazis during World War II. They basically said that we will sell them to you, but you will not make our guns within your borders. And of course, Germany wanted to be able to manufacture their guns in their borders, so they went with the SETME German-designed system, which eventually became the G3. Now, of course, there's different calibers that were produced in this configuration. Again, 7.62 NATO. There was also the HK53 or HK93, which is the 5.56mm, and of course, we all know about the MP5 and 9mm. However, there was one very obscure rifle that was designed. However, it never went into production. And that particular one was referred to as the HK32. Now, the difference between the other models and the HK32 was that it fired the 7.62x39mm cartridge. And the rifle here that we're going to be looking at today is a derivative of that. This particular one is made by PTR called the KFR, which is a 7.62x39mm version of this rifle. But I want to get a little bit more into sort of the history of how this went about. Now, the initial prototypes that were made, this was by Rheinmetall, were the same system as the HK91 or the G3, but it was chambered for the 7.62x39, and it took the AK type magazine, a standard AK-47 type magazine. It evidently didn't work out very well for them, so when they went into their more finalized production of the HK32, they decided to go with their own version of the 7.62x39 magazine, where if you look at the photograph of this one, you can see very clearly that it has the same look as a standard HK-type magazine, where you have the three magazine well stops, but you have basically the curve that would go into the 7.62x39mm magazine. Now, this rifle never went into production. There was two, the HK32 and the 33. The 32 was a full-length stock. The 33 was a telescopic stock. Now, there was some prototypes that were made and they were found in the hands of the federal police in Mexico. You'll find some pictures on the internet of those in service still to this day with them. Now, it surprises me because if something was to go wrong with those rifles, I can't imagine you being able to get these spare parts because, again, they never went into production, but they were out there. So now comes to what we have right here. The PTR rifles, PTR has been very well known for probably making the best production HK91 G3 type rifles in the United States. Due to the 1994 assault weapon ban, and prior to that there was an import ban that was put in place of guns coming in from outside of the country. So HK was no longer able to import the HK91s, 93s, and 94s. So pretty much after the assault weapon ban came into effect, that was pretty much halted. And then you started seeing some American companies coming up. You had DS Arms making the FAL. So you had now PTR making the HK-G3 style rifles. Now, PTR has done a beautiful job. These are all basically done off of HK tooling, HK machining. Parts being manufactured mostly here in the United States. Occasionally, you would see some parts that came from other parts kits. So some of these parts very well could be HK surplus parts, but a vast majority of all the parts are manufactured in-house. So, looking at the rifle that we have here, let's go over a little bit. Now, of course, we have the same standard stock that's used on every other HK G3 type rifle. The upper receiver, the same as well. You basically have it's stamped sheet metal. You do have a Gen 2. This is a Gen 2. The reason why This is the Gen 2 receiver manufactured by PTR. The Gen 1s were very like the HKs that came into the country. There was no 1913 rail on them whatsoever. The Gen 2 rifles from PTR have the 1913 rail. It's welded on the top so you can place any optic. Like the standard rifles, you have the diopter rear sights. This is a little bit more of a refined, a little lower profile. You generally have to have the tool to adjust this as well. You do have an adjustment knob on here, but you do have a screw you have to loosen up before you can actually adjust the windage on it. Now, elevation and windage is done from the rear. The front is fixed. Now, the 16.35 barrel that we have on here is basically a heavier profile marksman type barrel. If you look at the G3, you'll see we have more of a slender style barrel on here. This one here is a little bit more thick. This is also equipped for suppressor, 5/8 by 24. You can remove this and place your sound suppressor on here as well. Now, the system that we have on here, we're going to take this apart, is the roller delayed system. This is not a gas tube that you see up on top here. This is basically a tube where it rides in so you can use the charging handle. So again, this rifle was set up for the AK type magazines. Now, the one thing that we did see with this, it did not work with any steel magazines that I placed in it. I had many magazines from many different manufacturers, and the problem was this tang here right in the back. Every time I would go to rock a magazine into here, it would catch on the side here, and there was no way to rock it into place. So for as far as the operating system is concerned, this, like every HK, utilizes the roller delayed blowback. Now, this is not locked back on the last shot. There's never been an MP5 or an HK-G3 that ever did. So basically, what you're going to get is it's going to go click instead of bang. Then you're going to have to drop your magazine out. You can lock it back to the rear, insert your magazine, give the HK slap, or you could drop in the magazine and then pull back and release. You can go either way, however you'd want to do it. This is one of the issues I felt that HK could always have improved on these guns with, is being able to have that lock back on the last shot, but that was something that they never wanted. And of course, there's been no HK guns right up until the G36 that had that feature. But again, the magazine issue I was very surprised with, that I could not get anything else to work. However, the PMAG Gen 2 and 3, the rifle did work flawlessly. Again, looking at some of the specifications here, 7.62x39, this gets roller delayed blowback, which we'll get into a little bit further. Now, this is a semi-automatic only. However, by removing this trigger pack, the bolt carrier is all set up to use a registered NFA trigger pack, so this thing will go selective fire. Again, the barrel, 16.35-inch stress relief tapered contour threaded barrel, 5/8 by 24 with a 1 10-inch twist. Again, 1913 rail as we see right here. Handguard. This is the polymer slimline handguard. Again, this is not particularly my favorite due to the fact that it is narrow when you have big hands. Also, the fact that the chamber right here is where it is available to your hand, and this is a good way to get burned. When this thing gets hot, you will get burned. I prefer the style that we have with the HK style, where you have the chambers covered. This is much easier on your hand. Not to mention, this is very, very narrow. So again, someone like me with big hands, I can put my hands all the way around it. Again, a magazine, 30-round magazine. Of course, you can also get 20-round magazines in 7.62x39 from PMAG as well. An overall length of 38.5 inches. A weight unloaded, 9.35 pounds. And a trigger pull of about 9 to 10 pounds. So taking a look at some of the disassembly. These guns are a little bit complex to disassemble only in the bolt. The bolt carrier group is fairly complex and generally requires tools. It's not necessarily as easy to do. But so disassembly is very simple. You have two pins you see right here. They're spring-loaded pins. Push inward, push down on both. And the designers wanted to make sure you didn't lose your parts, so when you remove your pins, you have a place where you can set those. Remove your second pin. Again, so you're not going to lose those. Now you're going to remove your stock assembly. Now your stock assembly, as you see, has your recoil spring on there. Now we can drop off our trigger pack. This is polymer as compared to the original ones that were metal, and you had a separate pistol grip. This is all one piece, and the trigger pack does pop out of the top here, and you're able to select what type you would want. Now, again, due to the way this gun is designed, if you have one of these trigger packs that go safe semi-auto or whichever it would be, that would be able to drop right on there as well. Now, the handguard, if you want to remove the handguard, would require a screwdriver. This is not a push pin, so this is as far as you disassemble that. Now, to remove the bolt carrier group, drops right out like so. Now, as you can see from here, this is a cutout area right in here. If this was a semi-automatic only, this would be there would be no shelf on here, so it would not be able to actuate the auto sear. And again, as I previously stated, due to the way the bolt carrier is designed on here and the way that the trigger pack attaches, if you have a registered trigger pack, you're able to use it to convert this over to a selected fire rifle. This is the one part that we're not going to do here because, again, this particular one, this is extremely difficult. This will require a wrench actually to be able to manipulate. For disassembly of the bolt, this is a little bit more complex. This is a relatively new gun, so it's very, very stiff. You generally would need some tools to take this apart. You'll be seeing some photographs of these parts. So you would rotate the bolt, remove, and you have your firing pin and your locking part. Rotate, that will remove. Now you have your firing pin and your firing pin spring. And these are your components for your roller delayed bolt. Now for reassembly, insert your firing pin back in. Now the difficult part of this is you have a very heavy spring that you have on here to manipulate the bolt for locked and unlocked. It's a lot easier on the MP5s. You have a much lighter spring, but on these heavier calibers, it's much larger. So we take our locking part, push that in, and we rotate that so it's full 12 o'clock. Now we're going to take the bolt, push like so, and then you're going to hear that click. You're going to hear that click. And now you're basically going to take a wrench and you are going to rotate we want to make sure we have this into the unlock position, and then we are going to rotate the bolt, and now we have the bolt back together. So for reassembly, we drop the bolt back into position. We're going to reinsert the trigger pack. Take our stock assembly. I'm going to remove our pins. There you have it. Now there's one more feature that I like to talk about here, which is something that this is common with all of the roller delay blowbacks, and is the chambers. Now you're going to see a couple photographs. The one's a photograph of looking inside of this chamber here, and you're starting to be able to see the fluting, and you're going to see a cross section that have flutes that go all the way around. Now what fluted chambers do is when the rifle fires and the gas comes in, the gas comes back around those flutes and it impedes on the brass and it aids in extraction. And you're going to see from a photograph of the fired cartridge case where you will be able to see the flute flares that go all the way around the cartridge case. These guns have been known to have their extractors removed or broken, and they will still cycle because of the fact that it has that fluting. So that's something that you see on every caliber, including 7.62x39. That's something that goes along with the roller delayed system. Let's take this to the range and we'll see how it shoots. Well, as you saw from the shooting, this is a very strange gun to shoot, just due to the fact that Min 7.62x39, it's just used to more of an AK or AR type feel, so it was sort of unusual. Same with using the magazine, but very, very pleasant to shoot. Just like the the G3s, it's very, very pleasant to shoot. A little heavier on the recoil, I think, with the roller delayed than it is with the gas operated system. The triggers are very squishy. That's one of the issues that you always had with all the HK style triggers. They're very squishy when they shoot. I was very impressed with the accuracy that we got. The best group was 1.1 inches with Gecko 124 grain 7.62x39mm ammunition. And that was very, very impressive for this type of a rifle. Now, I can't say if that was a fluke or not, because most of the groups were around 2 to 2.5, but that was the best. Of course, I'm going to show you what the best was. And that was going to be with that normal ammunition. Unfortunately, these caliber guns are very restricted on their performance by the ammunition. You can have the best rifle in the world, but if you have steel-cased ammunition that's not made properly, it's not made consistently, you're not going to get consistent accuracy. However, using some of the full metal jacket type ammunition, unfortunately, there's not really what you would call match 7.62x39 out there, so you're never going to be able to see exactly what the potential of the rifle is. However, going with a good normal type ammunition, maybe even a Federal American Eagle or Winchester USA, good brass case ammunition is going to give you a far better idea of what the rifle is capable of than using this, the Steel Wolf or Steel Chinese ammunition. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.